Hey buds, come along with me to the Garden of Growing, where we always have fun and we grow by knowing. Let's go! There you are. Welcome back to the Garden of Growing. It's so great to see you again. And as you can see, Bloom and Blossom are hanging out with me today. So are Cat and Lady in the back of the garden. Let's take a look in my garden pail and see what we're going to learn about today. I'm going to take my gardening gloves off so we can take a look. I see some pipe cleaners, some play dirt that says bugs in a jar, some brown paint, my letter puzzle. Let's review the letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Great job practicing those letters, buds. You're getting to be so smart. Let's see what else is in the pail today. I see some Play-Doh and lots of different colors. I'm going to put those aside. Let's try to figure out what we're going to learn about today. What would live in the dirt and maybe look a little bit like this, wiggling and squiggling and crawling around? You've got it, buds. Worms. Worms are very important to gardens. They live in the dirt and they help aerate the soil, which helps our garden grow better. So what happens is the worms go underground and they make what's called burrows. And those burrows create some holes underneath the garden. And that's how air gets into the soil and makes the plants, vegetables, fruits, flowers, whatever's growing in our garden grow so much better. Worms are cool creatures. They're a little bit slimy, and they wiggle around and squirm on the ground and in and out of things. They don't really like the sunlight very much. The sun is not very good for them. So they usually come out at night or they stay underground and squirm all around. So a few interesting facts about worms are they don't have eyes, but they are light sensitive. So they sometimes will go towards the light or away from the light so that they can find their direction. They don't have any legs and they don't have lungs. So we breathe through our lungs, our air, our oxygen. Worms breathe through their skin, which is really interesting. And they're said to have no hearts, but some heart-like structures. And sometimes they can have pairs of those heart-like structures, and they can have up to 5 pairs. So that would be 10, almost like having 10 hearts, which is pretty interesting. They eat organic matter, which means they eat things that are decaying, like old plants or leaves or old dead animals. So they kind of help recycle things in the garden too. And they eat those things, they get rid of the bad, dead, decaying things in the garden, and they put nutrients into the soil, which makes our plants and vegetables and fruits and flowers grow so much better. So oftentimes we see all the work that goes on the outside of the garden or the surface of the garden where we're working and planting things, but sometimes we don't always get to see what's going on down below the garden, and those worms are doing a lot of work to keep our garden growing so beautifully. So let's do a little activity with worms today. If you don't have play dirt like I have, you can maybe ask your parents if you can get some dirt from your backyard, or you can use some coffee grinds if they allow you to pretend like you have dirt in the house. You can also use some flour or any kind of baking items, some brownie mix, if your moms and dads aren't using it and they don't mind you playing around in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little tray, because I don't want to make a mess all over the garden, and I'm going to take my play dirt and just pour it in the tray, and we're just going to explore it a little bit while we talk a little bit more about worms. So my play dirt that I got from Amazon, my dirt in a jar, or bugs in a jar dirt, has a little ant in it and a blue worm. So I'm going to put those over here in my dirt, and I'm just going to go ahead and feel it with my hands. Dirt feels really cool. And what's interesting about dirt, do you know how we talked about how caterpillars change and have a metamorphosis, and so do ladybugs? Dirt can change in a different way. It can go from being this dry dirt that we play with, and when you add some water to it, it can become very muddy, so it turns into mud. And dirt sometimes is soft, and then when the temperature gets cold or the ground gets dry, then it can become very hard. So it can go through some changes too. So like I said, if your parents say it's okay and you can get some old brownie mix or flour or some coffee grinds, you can go ahead and play around with it like me, and just feel the texture of it and feel if it feels soft or hard, and see what you can do with your dirt. If you don't have a little worm toy at home, you can use a straw, you can use a pipe cleaner like I have. You can use anything you'd like to squirm around in that dirt and pretend like you have bugs or worms crawling through the garden. I have my little ant. Ants do a lot of hard work too. We'll learn about them another day. And I have my squirmy little worm crawling through that fake dirt today, or play dirt. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, worms don't have lungs like we do, so they breathe through their skin. And the reason you see lots of worms when it rains and gets very muddy is because they have to come up to the surface of the dirt so that they can breathe, so they don't drown. So that's why oftentimes when it rains out, you see a lot more worms than you normally would. Usually they come out at night when there isn't a lot of sun. If they get too much sun, the sun can actually paralyze them, which means they can't move anymore. And if a worm can't move, it can't wiggle and squirm to get where it needs to get its food and water and air like we need to survive. So I'm just going to play around with my dirt for a little bit. And I want to show you, worms have little rings on their bodies, and those are called segments. And each segment is very important to a worm, because worms don't have bones like humans and animals do. They just squirm around using their different segments to move them. They do have a head and a tail, but they don't have arms and legs like we do. They just have some hairs that help them move around and get from place to place. So they squirm around to help the garden grow. So I'm going to go ahead and put this toy worm away, back into the play dirt where he likes to be. And I think we should go ahead and take out our letters again and figure out, what letter does the word worm start with? Can you figure it out with me? Worm. I think it's this letter right here. What letter is that? W. Very good. So worm starts with the letter W. Excellent job, buds. Now, the letter W is the first letter of something else that we've made in the Garden of Growing before. Can you figure out what that was? It helps us put something in the garden that's very important for plants to grow, and that word also starts with a W. There are lots of things in the garden that start with the letter W. So I'm talking about our watering can. Watering can starts with the letter W. What goes in the watering can? You got it, water. And water also starts with the letter W. That's so important for everything to grow. So I'm going to put my watering can back by Cat and Lady over here. And again, this is our letter W, and letter W is the first letter of the word worm. Can you say worm with me? Worm. Worm with me? Worm. Very good, buds. You're getting to be so smart. I'm going to put my letter W and my worm back into the play dirt. And I think it's time for us to do an art project. What do you think, buds? So today I thought we would use that letter W in our art project. So I thought it would be a good idea to make some worms form the letter W. So in my garden pail, I have some construction paper. I have some green paper. I can make some grass or some plants with. I have some brown paper. That's what I'll use to make my little worms. I have some white paper, just in case I want to use it for anything, and some black paper. So I'm going to start by using the black paper as a background. And I think I'm going to take my brown paper and make a little bit of dirt on the bottom of the garden. So I'm going to put it halfway down. So I need some scissors too. I'm going to go ahead and find out where I put my scissors. I don't think they're in my garden pail today. Here they are. And remember, we always want to be very safe when we're using our scissors. So I'm going to go ahead and make a shape that looks like just some dirt. So you can make whatever kind of shape that you'd like. Or if it's okay with your parents and you have brown brownie mix or brown coffee grinds and you want to just glue those down on a piece of paper to make some cool texture, you can do that as well. It's up to your parents. Make sure you get their permission. And remember, if you don't have the things that I'm using or that I'm talking about, you can be creative and use your imagination and use whatever tools and supplies you have around you. That's what's so great about using your imagination. Everybody can do things in different ways. Now, I used black construction paper today because worms like it to be very dark. So to me, black is a very dark color. So I'm using black and I just glued my brown piece on. That would be like where the worms would live in the dirt down there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my brown paint. Remember, when you're using paint, you always want to have something to clean up with just in case you have an accident and make a little bit of a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and get some paper towels ready just in case I mess up my hands or I spill a little bit. So you can go ahead and get some paper towels or a cloth or even a smock if you like to put that over your clothes so that you don't mess up your nice clothes with your paint. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my brown paint. And then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner. And I'm going to use just the little edge of my pipe cleaner. and I'm going to dip it into my paint. And I'm going to start to make some worm tracks across the dirt that I just glued onto my black paper. So you don't want to put the whole pipe cleaner into your paint because then your hands will get very messy. I put just a little piece or maybe like half of it through. And then I'm just going to go ahead and drag my paint across the brown paper to make it look like worms are slithering or squirming through that dirt. Now, if you have a hard time using the pipe cleaner, you can always use your fingers or a paintbrush. Again, whatever those parents will allow you to do. So I'm just making some worm tracks all through my dirt. You can make as many or as few as you'd like. And in the middle, I'm going to make almost like a W. But we'll do another W a little bit later on for a worm. So keep making those tracks all across that dirt. And remember, we're making those tracks because that would be the worms making their burrows through that dirt so that the air can get into the soil and help our garden and plants grow. So now that I'm finished with my pipe cleaner, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I put it somewhere safe or put it in the garbage so that paint doesn't get all over the place. And I'm going to let you take a look at what my worm tracks look like. And there you go. So cool. So those would be the worms under the ground, airing out the garden, doing their job to help us grow things so beautifully. Those worms work a lot harder than you think. Now, with my green paper, I'm going to make some blades of grass or maybe what would be stems of flowers. So I'm going to make a W with that. So remember, this is our letter W. So it has a line that goes down, another one that goes up, another one that goes down, and another one that goes up. So let's count how many lines we need. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut 4 green pieces to make my W for worm. You can cut these pieces evenly. You can cut them different sizes, however you'd like. And I'm just going to try to make it look like a little W. And I'm going to make some pieces that go up, down, up, down. And I'll show you what it looks like in just a moment. You can draw a W on your paper. You can paint a W on your paper. You can do it however you'd like. So I decided to do 2 big pieces to be the ends, and then 2 little pieces that I'll kind of crisscross together to make the middle of my W. So I'm going to get my glue stick and I'm going to glue down these green pieces to be almost like grass or something starting to grow up out of the garden. You could have fruit growing in the garden, you could have vegetables, you could have plants, you could have flowers like I love to grow in the garden. Anything you like. It's pretty amazing all the things we can grow in our garden. But it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of care. All right, so here's my letter W. Like I said, I did 1 line down, another one up, another one down, and the last one up to form my W plant or stems. And there you have it, W for worms, and all my little worms creeping and crawling through the garden dirt. That's what mine looks like. How does yours look, buds? I can't wait to see. Remember to have your adult help you take a picture of your work and send it to boogiebudbunch.com, our website, or you can go ahead and send it to my Instagram page. I love to see what all of our buds are doing outside of the Garden of Growing. We love to see all of your artwork, and we already have so many beautiful pieces of art already on our website. If you go to the website, boogiebudbunch.com, and click on Garden Gallery. So go ahead and take a look and let us know what you think. We're having so much fun seeing what all of our buds are coming up with. You're doing a great job, and I'm so glad you come to play with us each week. Blossom and Bloom have been loving seeing everything that you're working on too. So do Cat and Lady. So now I'm going to go ahead and get out my Play-Doh that I saw in my garden pail. And with my Play-Doh, I'm just going to go ahead and roll it up into different worms. So if you have Play-Doh at home, you can get yours out and make all different sized worms. Worms can be very small, but they can also grow to be really long. So what I like to do is I make a ball with my Play-Doh, and then I squeeze it and roll it together. And again, it's fun to feel the different textures of things. So you felt what the dirt felt like before, and today you're feeling what the Play-Doh feels like, and maybe even the paint. So there's my worm, one green worm. Now I'm going to make a black worm with my Play-Doh. Sometimes I have trouble opening up my Play-Doh containers. But it's really important to keep them shut so the Play-Doh doesn't dry out and we can play with it again. I'm going to make this worm a little bit longer. So again, I'm going to roll it out. And I'm going to put them on the grass, squirming next to each other. You can make however many worms you'd like. Now I'm going to make a purple worm. You might not really see a purple worm, but I like purple. So I'm going to make a purple worm today. I like to use my imagination and do lots of different things. So here's my purple worms. So now I've made 1, 2, 3 worms. I'm going to make one more. And it's going to be pink today. So I have purple, pink, black, and green. And we're going to go ahead and make really cool worms. There they are. All of my Play-Doh worms squirming around. Now, another fun thing you can use at home to pretend are worms is cooked spaghetti or cooked noodles. So the next time your mom or dad are making some pasta, you can ask them if you can use some cooled down noodles to play worms with. And you can use your imagination to make believe that they're squirming all around. You can also use those cooked noodles to do the project that we did today and make some worm tracks all around with some paint or some stamp pad ink or something like that. Make sure you send us all of your projects. We'd love to take a look at them. And we love that you come to join us in the Garden of Growing all of the time. Thanks for coming to hang out with us again. It's always such a good time to see you and learn with you. We learned so much today. Let's review our letters that we were talking about earlier. Remember, what letter is for worm? Letter W. I can do it with my fingers just like this. W for worm. Very good, buds. Let's review all of our letters again. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Great work, buds. Do you know what letter your name starts with? My name is Miss Amber, so my name starts with the letter A for Amber. That's letter A. Blossom and Bloom have the same letter for their names, letter B. B is also the letter for buds. Lady starts with letter L. And cat the caterpillar starts with letter C. We all have lots of different letters in our names. It's so much fun to learn letters and to learn names and to meet new friends and to do fun projects, isn't it? So remember, buds, when you leave the Garden of Growing, make sure you put on your looking glasses. I'm going to get a pair now. I'm going to put on my green looking glasses today. And when you leave the garden, make sure you take a look around you and maybe keep an eye out for all the different letters or words that you might see. Take a look at all the signs that you see. Maybe you'll see a letter W, like letter W for worm. You can also take a look around you and see if you find any worms crawling around the sidewalk or in the grass or maybe in your own gardens at home. Remember, treat them nicely. They're working really hard to keep the dirt really fresh and healthy for all of our plants to grow in. They have a lot of importance in the garden because they're helping aerate that soil and get those plants all the nutrients that they need. So even though worms can be a little bit icky and slimy, just like some other bugs that we might not really love so much because we might be a little bit afraid of them, we have to remember that we have to treat them well because they're doing a hard job and they have a really important role in our garden. And we want to remember that even though they're a little bit different than us, we want to treat them nicely, just the way that we would want to be treated. Remember, no matter what bud you are or what bud you see, you can grow to be any kind of bud that you'd like to be. So great to see you. See you again real soon. Bye.